Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin ti naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez. Now, Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to a new art gallery in Vallarta. It's called Galeria Robles, and its owner is Michael Tolleson Robles. Michael is an autistic savant artist. His story is very interesting, and he is a true entrepreneur. He's got his hands in a whole lot of things. He's got a whole lot of plans. We're going to find out all about that. So stay tuned for that. But before we get to Michael, let's see what's happening in Puerto Vallarta this week, the 8th of September, 2022. It's hurricane season, and Vallarta had its first real brush with a hurricane this year. Hurricane K passed by yesterday, and it's being felt locally by high tides, some rain. Turtle Camp up in Boca de Tomates felt the effects of the high tides. They got swamped. Remember them when you donate to your favorite causes. They are rebuilding, they are reinforcing, and they're fighting the good fight. Of course, building castles in the sand isn't a business for the faint of heart, but, that's what they do, I gotta tell you. Funny enough, Hurricane K is currently lashing at the Baja California coast, and by Sunday, I'll be feeling the effects of Hurricane K up here in Los Angeles. I might even have to cancel my client's open house. We are expecting rain, so we'll see. The anniversary of Hurricane Kena is fast approaching. October 25th will mark the 20th anniversary of Kena, which hit the morning of October 25th, 2002. One of these days I'm going to get a group of people that I know who were there, who will tell the experiences of their own personal experiences of Kena as it passed by the bay. That morning, a huge set of giant waves came rolling in from the tidal surge, and they still talk about it today. Anyway, I'm going to do that my next trip down when I come down with my microphones in hand. This next one that I'm coming down is going to be microphone-less. At least that's what my wife has been saying, but we'll see. Anyway, that should be interesting. We're going to find out from people firsthand what their experience was. Surprisingly enough, the month of August actually finished without any named storms for the first time in decades. It is September, and September is septiembre. It is a term that is used in Vallarta, and it describes the time of year, September, when many of the restaurants in town close down for a couple weeks to give their employees some time off and to do renovations and to fix up the places. And, well, they want to get this all done before a high season kicks in. So septiembre, septi as in septiembre in Spanish, and hombre, which means hungry in Spanish. Combine the two and you get septiembre, and September is a hungry month. With that in mind, remember that when you do get hungry, Some of your favorite restaurants may not even be open right now. You got to check ahead of time. Make sure you got another option in mind when you go out and eat this month. It's just the way it is. Speaking of hungry people, I did notice an influx of homeless people in Puerto Vallarta living along the Rio Quale, actually. I even saw a makeshift tent set up behind the municipal market right along the riverbank. I was actually a bit startled to see that there. I had to do a little double take. I mean, I am seeing more and more homeless in Zona Romantica. They're usually opening doors of the Oxos and the ATM cash machines, the cajeros there for people, hoping that they might just drop a few pesos into their hands as they leave the Oxo or wherever they're going. Of course, I do see them sleeping in the streets. I do see them sleeping in the sidewalks and in doorways. I'm out late at night, so I do see that. Yeah, this pandemic, well, not the pandemic, the government's reaction to the pandemic has made many who are on the edge homeless. And it's not just in Mexico, it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's happening in your backyard. You know it, you see it. You can thank your brave world leaders for all that. They're useless, spineless politicians, each and every one of them. What can I say? Anyway, it is Septiembre multiplied. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled. The folks are hungry out there. Now, last week I mentioned that El Rio Barbecue up in Paso Ancho will be open for one more season. What a great thing that is. And if you're wondering, we had issues last year with the rain and the hurricane knocking out some roads, and that road to Paso Ancho has been completed. If you remember, during Hurricane Nora, half of that road got washed away, and they needed to widen the road, and they did that by piling up rocks from the riverbed, from the Quale, all the way up to the level of the road, and they paved over it. And I was wondering if they would finish the work before rainy season started, and they did. They did a great job on it. So, yeah, there you go. You can get yourself up to El Rio Barbecue and beyond, all the way up there to wherever you're going to go, okay? Anyway, high season is here, so it's a good thing to see that. September is Patriot Month in Mexico, so while waiters are starving, just kidding, I think. Anyway, September, Mexico celebrates their independence from Spain. So let's review a little bit of this history with the names of people that you recognize because, well, you drive on the streets and you drive through the neighborhoods that are named after them, right? Dead politicians. Anyway, from Gobierno Estado de Mexico's very own website, reads the national holidays are celebrated in the month of September for the anniversary of the so-called Cry of Independence, which was given by the priest Miguel Hidalgo y Castilla in 1810. This occurred in the early hours of September 16th when, while the ringing of the bell of the Church of Dolores Hidalgo summoned the people to rise up in arms against the domination of the Spaniards. That War of Independence began one morning in the city of Dolores Hidalgo under the command of the priest Miguel Hidalgo y Castilla, together with Generals Ignacio Allende and Juan Aldama. Miguel Hidalgo, Ignacio Allende, Juan Aldama, and Mariano Abasolo were part of a group that conspired against the Spanish government. When the conspiracy was discovered, the arrest of the four was ordered. Remember that they were all members of that book club? You remember that Book of the Month club that was set up by Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez? Really? We talked about that, I think, last year. Anyway, look it up. Yeah, this gang really hits the names of all those streets in town, don't they? Anyway, 11 years after Hidalgo made his cry, finally the independence of Mexico was consummated on September the 27th, 1821, under the Plan of Iguala, proclaimed by Agustin de Iturbide and Vicente Guerrero. The areas that currently comprise Mexico, Central America, and the southern United States had remained in the hands of Spain when Hernán Cortés overthrew the government of Mexico in 1521. In the year 1845, President Antonio López de Santa Anna officially celebrated the cry, the grito ceremony, to remember the priest Hidalgo and the heroes that fought for independence. He established that the ceremony would take place every September 15th at 11 p.m., in turn to be able to celebrate Hidalgo's 80th birthday. And the cry, or the grito, as it is called in Spanish, goes a little like this. Now, the exact words of this most famous of all Mexican speeches are not known, or rather they're reproduced in almost as many variations as there are historians to reproduce them, but here goes. The essential spirit of the message is this: My children, a new dispensation comes to us today. Will you receive it? Will you free yourselves? Will you recover the land stolen 300 years ago from your forefathers by the hated Spaniards? We must act at once. Will you defend your religion and your rights as true patriots? Long live Our Lady of Guadalupe. Death to bad government. Death to the Guachapines. Damn. Just think. If Hidalgo had said that today, the government would, well, they'd unleash their network patsies, their social media companies on him, and they'd have him publicly shamed and canceled. Oh, yeah. But alas, no, it happened in 1810, so the government just had him executed. Well, some might say it's the same, but what a cruel world, eh? And in Vallarta, the cry of Dolores, the grito, is recited by the residing mayor, who recites the cry from the balcony at City Hall to the throngs of people awaiting the event on the Malecon and the Plaza de Armas. And on the 15th of September, at 11 p.m., as it is all over Mexico, in all the plazas and all the city halls and all the big, huge presidential palaces, the mayors, the governors, and the president of Mexico will be reciting the grito. And that, my friends, is an amazing thing. A couple of weeks ago, I reported on the disappearance of the suspected death of Enrique, who was the owner of the Margarita Grill and of the Marietta Grill in the Romantic Zone. Enrique had gone out on a very stormy night on his surfboard, and he never came home, so they suspect that he has drowned. They never recovered the body. I do have an interview with Enrique that I did some time ago. It hasn't aired, but I said a couple weeks ago that I really wanted to talk to his family about maybe airing the interview posthumously as kind of a tribute to him and to his businesses. So I found the taco stand where his sister works, and I let her know that I have the audio and that I want to edit it for her. And then I want to give it to her, and I want her to listen to it. And if she agrees, I'm going to have that interview as a tribute to Enrique's work and to his restaurants, and maybe I'll add the voices and the sentiments of his family, maybe people who worked with him. I don't know. I'm going to try to do this. I hope she agrees to let me do this, but I'm going to have to do some editing. So we're going to see, and I'll keep you all informed. I'll let you know what becomes of all this. Now, I have some email here. Some of them I have to get back to. So if you haven't heard back from me yet, I've been really, really, really just swamped. I've been so busy. But I did get one here from Reggie, my buddy Reggie. He asked if I would ask my listeners if they would share the one place that you go to in Vallarta for dinner that you never miss. I mean, we all have places like that, right? And for Reggie, that one happens to be Archie's Walk. He says that always works well for him. So Reggie, I'm asking all of you, for Reggie, where's that one restaurant that you never miss when you come to Puerto Vallarta? Now, for me, it's tortilla soup with chicken over at Cuates y Cuetes and chilaquiles verdes. I got to be verdes, con pollo. for breakfast, and that's also at Autistic. Those are my two that I never miss. I always get those when I go. Now, and I can't miss a breakfast, at least one breakfast per visit over at Lapa Lapa. Toes in the Sand, they've got this crab cake eggs Benedict that I get all the time. That's all I need, that and a glass of juice, and I am fine. Now for dinner, I guess the one place that I can say that for dinner would be Autistic. But to be honest with you, there isn't really a dinner place in Puerto Vallarta that I must go to. I just don't. So those are the two places that I go to. So how about you? What place is the place that you never miss when you come to Paradise? Email me at pvtravelshow@gmail.com and let me know. La Katrina Cantina. Now, this is now one of my new favorite places to catch entertainment in town. It's on Lázaro Cárdenas, just up the street a bit. It's upstairs, and the setup is very intimate. They've got a beautiful stage. The staff is on their game. The entertainment is over the top. They've got singing acts that just will blow you away. And my buddy Marsha Blondin has taken me there twice, and both times the shows were outstanding. So, also the owner, Juan Alvarado, he has developed an app that you need on your phone. If you are at all interested in shows around town, what's happening in entertainment in Puerto Vallarta, this app is for you. It's called PV Now. You can get it at the App Store. There is an events calendar and more. They also sell tours. But you know what I have to say about that, okay? Use JR for your tours. Ignore their tours, but do use their app for many other cool things that they have to offer. It's a very, very cool app. It's called PV Now, and you can get it, of course, at your app store. All right, let's get to our interview, shall we? I first heard about Michael Tolleson Robles through my friend, the aforementioned Marsha Blondin from the PV Mirror. We were out to dinner one evening. She asked me if I'd seen the new gallery over on Juarez and Iturbide, the Umbrella Street. And I said, yeah, I'd seen it. And she says, you need to interview Michael. He's amazing. So when Marsha says that, I say, okay. So I reached out to Michael. I asked him if he'd come on and introduce himself to my listeners, and he graciously agreed. I did drop Marsha's name. I'm pretty sure that didn't hurt either. So when you walk into this gallery, you will notice it's filled with beautiful canvases, large canvases of Michael's stunning work. And what makes Michael's art even more interesting is intertwined with Michael's story, which you'll hear from him in just a few minutes. Now, Michael refers to himself on his website as an autistic savant artist. So what is a savant? What is an artistic savant? Well, from an article written by Lisa Jo Rudy at verywellhealth.com entitled What is a Savant? She writes, a savant is someone who has extraordinarily detailed knowledge or ability in a particular area, despite having a serious mental disability or developmental disorder. People can have savant skills in art, mathematics, music, or memory recall. Known as Savant Syndrome, this is exceedingly rare. It is commonly associated with autism, but can occur alongside other conditions. Dustin Hoffman's character Raymond Babbitt in the movie Rain Man was a savant. Savant syndrome is a rare condition where someone with a developmental or intellectual disability shows extreme giftedness in one or more areas. It is not an official diagnosis, and there are no diagnostic criteria for savant syndrome. People with savant syndrome may have a very low IQ or other mental challenges, and yet show almost superhuman strengths in one very specific area. Savants often have extraordinary abilities in areas of music, art, calendar calculating, mathematics, mechanical and spatial skills. For example, famous savant Kim Peek, who inspired Rain Man, could almost instantly calculate dates for any events hundreds of years into the past or into the future. Savants may or may not be autistic, although Savant Syndrome is more common in people with autism. And the article does continue here from verywellhealth.com. You can read it in the show notes. I've got a link there. But let's go. Let's go right now to the corner of Juarez and Iturbide. There it is again. Dead patriots on every corner. No, really. Let's go to Juarez and Iturbide. And let's meet a man whose brain seems to be going a million miles an hour with ideas which are really, really pretty cool, with plans in store for even more cool things for this town. Let's meet Michael Tolleson Robles, autistic savant artist, a man of many talents, at Galeria Robles in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Michael, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you here to Puerto Vallarta?
So I grew up in Texas in a little town outside San Antonio. I grew up around my Mexican grandparents up until about 9 years old. So I have a strong connection to the Mexican community. My name is Tolleson, and in Mexico I'm able to add my mother's maiden name, which is Robles. So actually I'm going by Michael Tolleson Robles. I think Mexico is me basically getting to the point where I fully realize who I am and acknowledge all of myself. Growing up in Texas, I grew up in a town with a railroad track through the center of town, with the Mexican community living on one side and the white community living on the other side. And I never felt a part of either, and I felt a part of both at the same time. So I was a very misplaced soul. Moving to Mexico has allowed me to embrace the side of me that I'm most aligned with. The passion, the heart, the warmth, the hugs, the kisses, for Mexican families, everyone's an aunt and an uncle. We're a very large community that is very connected. And here in Puerto Vallarta, I've found a home that I feel comfortable in.
Beautiful. Yeah. So while you were in Texas, did you have a studio there?
No, actually, I'm an anomaly. I'm autistic. I have Asperger's. Now, I am just turned 65 years old, so when I grew up, there was no diagnosis for autism. There was no diagnosis for bipolar. There was no diagnosis for dyslexia. So those of us that processed differently lived a life where we just acknowledged to ourselves and coped with it the best way possible. We learned ways to appear like everybody else, even though we were different. And so the actual autism diagnosis didn't come till about 7 years ago. The painting is a very interesting anomaly because 10 years ago I picked up a brush and I can paint.
No, are you serious?
So I'm a true savant.
Oh my gosh.
So as you look around at the art in this room, what you must know is I don't paint it. Autism paints it. 10 years ago, I picked up a brush, and I can create gallery-worthy paintings with no training. The art that you're seeing, and most of them are large, they're 4x5 in size, I paint in 2 to 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
That is the gift of the autism. Before I moved to Mexico, which was 5 years ago, I was traveling around the United States doing about 10 events a year for autism awareness. While I'm on stage, I would paint a painting in minutes. So 7 years ago, I'm on the Nokia stage with Ed Asner. I was on stage with Temple Grandin, who is known for being a huge advocate for for animal treatment for cattle mainly. And she's a wonderful autistic icon. And while I was on stage, I painted a horse painting, a 3-foot by 4-foot painting, in 10 minutes. A Grammy-nominated man named Lonnie Parks, who does some wonderful music, sang 2 songs, and during the period of those 2 songs, I painted a horse painting. So I've been exhibiting the gifts and demonstrating for people across the United States in order to give hope for a few years, and that was before I moved to Mexico. Here in Mexico, I'm trying to find my venue, my way to be able to touch the community and to give hope to people who have children who are autistic or them themselves. I was able to go back to Mérida and the Yucatan, where I have my other gallery, and during April, which is Autism Awareness Month, I met with the mayor and had a press conference, and later did an event with the Rotary, where I painted live, and they auctioned off a painting for autism awareness and gave it to one of the organizations there. So I am getting a little inroad.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about your gallery. Let's talk about that. I mean, it is beautiful. First of all, the outside is got your face on it, doesn't it?
Oh, I know. Well, that's not my idea, to tell you the truth.
Well, I tell you, it looks very effective. It looks really great.
You know, I love murals, but it wasn't my idea. My idea was to, I came across, well, first of all, what you have to understand is I view life very spiritually, and I believe doors open as they should be. When I first started about opening up a gallery in Puerto Vallarta, I was over in the romantic zone, and I'd found a space, and it was on the second floor, and I knew that if I opened a space that I had enough visibility and on the internet, and I was public enough where people would come to find me. So I was considering that space. Well, the universe gives us what we need when we need it, and I had found an apartment. I was in the Gringo Gulch, and I just happened to wander up under one of the higher roads. I was wandering around, and I found a little callejon alleyway that made its way back down to the water. So as I walked back down toward the water, I came down to the corner of that street and Juarez, and I looked over it, and there's a space for rent. And I thought, well, I talked to the realtors. They hadn't told me about this. And the space had a bottom space available and a top space available. So I called on it, and it wound up being what I needed. I had a discussion with my husband about it, and I said, there's a top and there's a bottom. I can open a gallery in the bottom. He said, take it all. He said, just let's let faith in what we're doing, prevail, and let's take it all. So instead of a 2,000 square foot space, we wound up with a 6,000 square foot space.
Yeah.
During the process of all of this, I met up with a guy who builds condos, and he said he could assist me with construction as far as supplying some leads for some people. So we wound up talking, and as we talked, we became more and more familiar and more interested in what each other did. And he has since become a business partner in some of the other ventures that we're doing. But it was his idea to put the mural outside. Uh-huh. And so we brought in a muralist. His name is Tony, and he did the mural on Café de Artiste. And my idea was to have a hand with a brush or a palette knife, just kind of like painting one of my paintings. But while I had my back turned, they kind of chit-chatted, and all of a sudden I found out my face was going to be on it. So it's...
yeah, it's just what happens when you lose control.
Yeah, it was interesting. And the thing is that, I left the United States, and I'm pretty known, and I sell a lot of art, and I ship globally, but and then I'm basically I'm a public figure, but there's a part of me, and I don't know if it's the autism, I don't know if it's the Mexican culture, but I tend to be pretty humble and shy, and the fact that my face is on the outside of the building, I was kind of like gulping and looking up and going, okay, I'm all right with it. But I don't know if I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
It's there, people love it, so I have to be okay with that.
You do. I mean, it's called the Imposter Syndrome, and you have to just break free of that, right?
Yeah. It's we all have coping mechanisms, and one of the coping mechanisms I have is that I almost talk about the artist and the abilities through the autism in third person, because it's something that I don't have control over, and I just let it be what it is, and I acknowledge it, but I'm not so vain as to take it on as who I am, because it's a gift, and any gift has to be acknowledged, and any gift has to be cherished, and you have to understand why you're given the gift. And for me, it's to reach out into the world. There's no painting that goes out the door without someone knowing autism paints it. And it's my desire that somewhere along the line, every painting has a story, and that story may reach someone who has a child that is struggling with autism, particularly Asperger's, where they're on the brink of having a bright future, and maybe they just need a role model or the concept that they can be more.
Absolutely, yes. And that's one of the really cool things that I like about your paintings, is that each one of them has a story, and you tell the story about each of these. And I think gives it extra meaning to the new owner, right?
Yeah. So actually, yeah, because with the autism, I can't paint a bowl of fruit. That means nothing to me. So what actually happens is every single painting I paint has a meaning behind it. So it may look like a boat floating in water, but in a very calm scene. But to me, it may symbolize going through life, running, going, and getting to a place in your life that you stop for a moment, you assess your life before you move forward or you make changes. And that floating boat in water is a symbol of that pause. And when someone's in and they're attracted to that painting, I explain why that painting exists. So, my story is my story when I paint something. The truth is every person's going to find their own story, but I at least want to give them a springboard to view the painting and maybe find their own journey within the canvas.
That's lovely. I love that. Now you are painting in watercolor. You're painting in oils. What is your medium?
It's an acrylic. That's been one of the hardships of being in Mexico, is the fact I'm very addicted to one particular brand, which is Golden. It's the top line acrylic that's sold in the United States. It's a very pigmented. It has a very saturated colors, and it's very buttery in consistency. So if I'm using a palette knife and I swipe across the canvas, it stays where I put it. So it doesn't drip and it doesn't run, and the colors are very intense. So anyone coming in here may think that it's an oil, but it's actually an acrylic. And a couple of the advantages of that are the acrylics won't yellow, the acrylics won't crack, and particularly in some humid climates, it's better. It's a better fit for them.
Are they easily rollable? Can you roll them and ship them, or?
I can roll and ship, but I don't usually do that. I've done it a couple of times if they're going to England or Australia, but I tend to ship intact. So even a 4-foot by 5-foot is shipped intact.
Yeah, that could be a little bit pricey putting it on a plane.
It is, but you know, if it's what I don't want to do is I don't want to roll something up, and I use a lot of gallery wrapped canvases, so they have 2-inch sides that are painted to match, and I don't want someone to get that home. They try to re-stretch it on stretchers, and then you wind up with little white marks on the corners, and then you have to figure out if you're going to touch it up, or maybe you'll just put it in a frame. So then it winds up being a whole thing of where the intent of the painting is lost, because what I really like about the gallery wrapped is the fact that there's movement in it. If you approach it from one side, it starts, and then as you look at it, you go to the other side and continues on all the way to the wall. So it's very fluid feeling,
Yeah.
and I would rather have something fluid feeling than contained within a box.
Totally understandable. Yeah. All right. So you also do like series, like you do horses and you do
Women,
nautical
I do
and-
boats, I
Oh,
do
yeah.
landscapes, nautical. What happens is I've cultured a very large audience in Facebook. There's a spill-off into Instagram, but basically Facebook is my vehicle because it has the over 40 people that tend to be my customers, and they tend to understand my art the best. For me, it's just better for me to stay in a vehicle that works. And these people have certain, they like my women, or they like my horses, or they like the boats. So I tend to do series of those. Now, with the autism, I think we get a little touch of attention deficit disorder with it. Because what happens is I paint horses, but I don't paint them the same. So unlike another artist that may find their thing or their style or their subject and they just beat that to death, I am constantly evolving. And the way I paint things and even the things that I approach are all different. My horses are one of my strong series, and I show in Santa Fe at one of the galleries there, Hushangs on the plaza. But you know that happens to be a favorite of many people. All of them, like we talked about, mean something. So I may paint a horse, but the horse is not just a horse. It's actually talking about a journey, or it's talking about a feeling, or it's in conjunction with a person. Now, an interesting thing about the autism is I have face blindness. So I have no retention on faces. So I can see a face, but if you walk out of the room and you change your hair or you put a hat on or whatever, and you come back in, I don't know who you are. So I have no way of retaining faces. So even though I do paint faces, many of my paintings are faceless.
Faceless, yeah, I see that.
And also what will happen is if it's a person with a horse, the horse is actually more human than the person. And I seem to understand the emotions of a horse and am able to display that better than I can people.
Well, that's very interesting. You have plans for your upstairs
I do.
because you told me that you went ahead and rented this big place. So what's going on? What's going to happen upstairs?
Well, we have 6,000 square feet, and 2,000 is the downstairs gallery. There are actually 2 more floors, proper floors. So the gallery will actually go up 3 floors.
Excellent.
Then there is a casita that actually sits on top of those 3 floors. And that is just like a very small bedroom and bath. So what happened is the thoughts were to put the gallery all the way to the top, and I was approached at one point asking if I wanted to entertain the idea of a wine and tapas bar by a woman who was out of the country but would be coming in sometime in the spring. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. But the more I talked, the longer their entrance back into Mexico was going to be, and it was not working well with my time frame on everything I wanted to do with the building. So that went along, and then I wound up finding someone who wanted to put in a restaurant, but it tended to be more down-home country cooking, and with the fine art gallery, it wasn't a good match. And other circumstances kind of kept us from doing that. my business partner and I approached one of the well-known chefs in town who has his own business. He's well-known. He's one of the original chefs from Café des Artistes. He's high cuisine. He's on par with the chef at Tintoque, and obviously any chef that would be at Café des Artistes. And so we approached him, and he agreed that it would be a good match for him to move his business into our building. So he'll be going from 30 seats to 100 seats. He is a fabulous chef, and so the second floor will open up as a fine dining restaurant in caliber with, equal caliber to Tintoque. We have been working on it for a while. What I really want to do is present something that not only offers really wonderful food, but also is a visual treat for people. So the restaurant's going to be pretty interesting. It has the same footprint as the gallery that is on the first floor. So it's 2,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. We're doing a show kitchen where you can actually look in and see the cooking.
Nice. You're going to have a chef's table there, too?
The chef, I don't know what we're going to do with that. We'll see what happens with him. But we're also doing light fixtures that are unique. There's a 3-story stairwell that goes up. There's a landing at the top. There's the lighting over the bar, and all of those are very Chihuly-like. So anyone who's familiar with that particular artist, they're very interesting globes and pieces of blown glass, and so the main chandelier on the stairway will be 9 feet long.
Nice.
And very colorful. The main dining area will have my paintings all on the walls because it is gallery as well. And we are having constructed stainless steel and blown glass horses in a stampede for the chandelier.
Oh, my goodness.
So, it will be very impressive when it's done. I love that because, as you know, I'm known for the horses. So it's a tie back into what I do for art. I'm really excited. It's going to be colorful. It's going to be beautiful. The food's going to be great. We went and selected all the dishes and silverware, and we're doing just all different sorts of Spanish plates. So all different shapes, all very interesting. The food will come out looking like art, and that's the hope is that this building is integrated into different experiences, but it has a common thread.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So obviously, you're not letting us on who the chef is and what restaurant he's in. But if you are listening and you can deduct from what Michael just told you, then good for you. But Michael, you'll tell us when that happens, right?
I will let you know.
Okay. Please do.
Out of respect to the chef, he asked that we not announce it, and I don't know if he's doing staff changes or what, but I want to be very respectful of his wishes.
Well, and me of yours. So there you go. So
we're on the same page.
You let me know, and I'll let everybody else know when that happens.
Now we have one other little cute thing that's I don't know if it's cute, but we're going to have one thing that we're going to do, which I really find fascinating. So we have 3 floors of the gallery, and with the restaurant in it. Then there's the casita, which is actually on the 4th floor. Well, with conversations with the chef, what our projection is for the high season, we're going to complete on which would be the 5th level. We're going to have a private dining area on the very top of the building. And from that private dining area, which would accommodate like 1 to 4 tables. It's not big. Yeah. But it would allow a place for engagements or birthdays or something that would be very special and would have its own private waiter. It could have music. But from that vantage point, you can see unobstructed view of the ocean. You can see the beautiful church we have here, which is 1 block away. So, you're right there at the church. And looking in the other direction, particularly at night, you'll have the side of the hill with all the lights of the little houses and businesses and stuff. So we're very excited. I mean, the fact that we could have this private dining experience is so fun.
I'm excited too. All right, I can't wait. I'm putting in my reservation right now because I know there'll be a big line out there for sure. You were also talking about setting up another business.
Well, we got a few things in the works. So it's really interesting. Like I said, I really believe in the whole spiritual aspect of life and things. People are meant to be put together. So my business partner is actually undiagnosed autistic. So his brain and my brain work very well together. So I can finish sentences. I can do things before he asks. We're just there. So working with him, my mind has opened. And I don't know. In the United States, I had galleries, and I thought about business in a very linear way. But having someone else that thinks the same way has really opened me up to possibilities. So now, nothing's by coincidence. So when I first moved to Mexico, I was in San Miguel de Allende. My gallery was in the front part of a building, and in the back part was a mail service. And they basically worked with expats and provided a service of bringing in packages and mail from the United States that people in Mexico have difficulty getting. So I formed a pretty strong relationship with the people that worked there, and we would have fun. If I sell a painting, I would treat them to lunch or whatever. And so during the course of everything happening in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende proved not to be the place I wanted to be. So I moved to Mérida in the Yucatan and opened up a gallery there. And as I had that gallery, I still had a wish for having more of a touristy town, somewhere that I can come in contact with a lot of different people from all over the world and have a nice, viable gallery and a beach community. So Puerto Vallarta came up, and I researched it and decided that's what I wanted to do. While I'm doing all this and I'm starting construction, I started to think about staffing. It just so happened I had a letter come in to San Miguel, and I needed to call the package mail service to arrange for my mail. So when I did that, I spoke to one of the girls that I knew there, that I had a close relationship with, and she told me that she was unhappy living in San Miguel, and I asked her, would you like to come work for me? Well, she since came and worked for me, or is working for me in the gallery. And working with me in the gallery, we started to talk about this whole concept of mail package, and it's not a hard concept. It's a concept that has to be worked through as far as how to get things across the border and how to be timely about things and really service customers. Well, long story short, we've rented a space behind the gallery, about 1,000 square feet, and we're setting up a package and mail service for expats. So all of a sudden, I have a new business going.
Yeah. Oh, this is really great. Did you all hear that? Michael is going to help you mail and help you get mail.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is, I had a package come in because I'm using these golden paints, which I love, but I had a small box, and it wasn't that big. It had quite a few paints in it, but I used a mail service that charged me almost $500 for this one box, and I thought, oh my God. I said, $500? I mean, that is a third of the cost of the paints in the box. So I thought, I can do it better.
Yeah.
I can do it better, and I can provide a service that is not so costly for the expats living here, and I can make sure that the staff is very respectful and that things are done promptly, because the package I had, what came in May, into the Texas office that they had, and I didn't receive it till over 2 months later.
Oh my gosh!
So it's I mean that wasn't.
Where does it stay for 2 months?
I don't know. I don't know what they did,
Yeah.
but I didn't get it for 2 months. So, and I need it. I mean, I produce paintings very quickly, and I rotate a lot of art. So I was like dying for my paint, but so I thought I can do this better. So we're looking for probably mid-September to have this open.
Wow!
And,
all right.
And we'll have mailboxes where people can get their magazines in their mail for the United States. Many people need a U.S. address for their banks, for their credit cards, so they'll be able to have a U.S. address, a permanent address they can use, and we'll bring their mail in. And then if they order something from Amazon or they want something from Saks Fifth Avenue or whatever that won't ship out of the country, they can just ship it to their Texas address, and we'll bring it in. And within 10 days, they'll have it here.
Nice. All right. So we're looking forward to that, and that's. I mean, we got high season coming up, so that's going to be perfect timing for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's so, and then I wanted something that was kind of generic but easy to remember. So we're calling it Mail Express Vallarta, and it's. I figured it's easy to find. It's easy to look up. It's like the website's the same thing. It's so anyone who wants any information, it's easy to get information.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. And when that opens up, just give me a holler. I'll make the announcement too.
Great.
All right. Let's leave the gallery for just a minute. Let's go out into town. This is the bonus round. This is where my listeners like to hear about new places to go and eat. So I'm asking you for maybe your favorite places to have lunch, breakfast, or dinner. Do you eat breakfast, Michael?
I don't eat breakfast.
Because half the people I asked, they say, no, I don't eat breakfast.
It's like I'm traveling at 100 miles an hour all the time, and it's interesting because it's I have all the businesses going. I have painting to do, and then it's you don't really think about how much legwork is required on all this for going to CFE or going to the permitting or the accountant or so. I don't eat breakfast. I juice up on a double shot latte, which is actually probably equal to like 4 shots.
You betcha.
And my little bit of my raw sugar in there, and I just go. I have a couple of cups of that, and I'm good to the afternoon because I just spin and run and do. So particularly with all these workers around. I mean, we have construction going on in the restaurant. We have construction going on now at the mail service. And the other like little weird thing that I've decided to do is I rented a second floor commercial space 1 block away from the gallery that I'm converting into a New York loft so I can live close. So
so you're a
on
busy
top
man.
of and it's literally it's concrete floors, and it was holes for the windows, and columns. So I'm really talking about building from the ground up. So I go. Now, when I go out, of course I'm bad like everybody else. It's Rappi and Uber Eats sometimes just because there's so much going on.
Right.
But when I go out and I grab a lunch, I don't want to say I'm a little princess, but sometimes I'm a little princess in it. And even though I grew up in Texas, even though I grew up and lived in Houston for many years with the humidity and the heat, I moved and I lived up in New York City for 15 years, and then I lived in Seattle 11. So 26 years of my life I was up in cool weather. And I need air conditioning.
And thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, you like it here, don't you think?
Yes, I'm not leaving, by the way. I didn't know if you knew that or not. But.
Yeah, usually I get in a cab, and they'll have their windows down, and I'll say, "Do you have air?" And they said, "Yes." And then I'll say, "Great." And then if they roll up their windows, they turn on the air, and it's really good. I said, "Okay, instead of going just across town, I think I want to go to Guadalajara. Can you just keep driving?"
Yeah, if you can get a guy to do that for you.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but But so I kind of look for places that have air conditioning, particularly for lunch.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I suffer through something because something's really good. There's a nice little Italian restaurant that's right next to Santander's on Morelos, right before the bridge, and I love it. I just think they're Italian, and they have a true lasagna. Their pizzas are fabulous. The calzones are wonderful, and it's just a little hidden gem. But it's out. It's out in the open. And
Yeah, it's out on the street.
It's out on the street, right next to Santander. But it is good. I mean,
It's delicious.
It's probably my most favorite place.
Well, you and I have the same taste because I love that place too.
They are fabulous and nice. I mean, they're just nice people. There.
Does he sing? Does he sing to you?
No, I haven't had that.
Oh, Bill, before the pandemic, he would sing. The chef.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe they've got him muzzled until after the pandemic's over or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
They're a beautiful couple. That's a great one there.
That's good. And then the other place that I like to go, which does have a section of the restaurant that they air condition. So as you go down the Malecon, usually you get your typical Malecon restaurants. And they are mediocre at best.
Yeah.
And I've had lots and lots of bad experiences along the Malecon eating things. One day I did venture out and have a breakfast, and I ordered some kind of breakfast crepe, and it was like cardboard. It was terrible. So, I really had kind of sworn off all the Malecon restaurants. But there is one that I really enjoy, and that is Vitia. And it is business partners with Trio, which I also enjoy Trio. But for just like sitting, looking at the water, and having some nice food, I love going there for lunch. And what I usually do, rather than ordering an entree, I order I usually share with someone, and we order 4 or 5 of the different appetizers.
Nice.
And so we'll have they have like a Thai chili shrimp, and they have lox and bagel and calamari and stuff. So we just kind of snack and have a really nice meal. So that's a great place to go.
Absolutely.
For lunch.
Yeah.
I haven't really been a big wine drinker, but as we started to research for the restaurant upstairs, I've started to pay more attention to wines and
good idea.
Things. I had kind of a colorful past. Part of this happens with people with Asperger's, and sometimes what happens, we don't know we have Asperger's. We don't understand why we're not socializing well. We're processing differently. We don't understand why people don't get what we're saying, and we've been socialized to believe we have to be amongst people and do things, and what we really want to do is go hide somewhere. So, I struggled for quite a few years, and during the 80s in New York City, I heavily self-medicated. I was doing some club DJing, so it was a lot of cocaine and a lot of shots of any kind of liquor that I could lay my hands on. And it basically allowed me to socialize well. And I was a confused person. The things, if you're sharing drugs and you're sharing alcohol with people and you're buying them for other people, you build a community. And I didn't build it based on who I was. I based it on being a person that supplied other people with their vices. What I'm lucky about is I self-medicated out of something mentally that I was unhappy with. With the Asperger's, I have 154 IQ, and it's just, I operate differently. So I went through a period of self-medicating, but I don't have an addictive personality. I have the personality that abused, drugs and alcohol. So after all that, I got to a point where I had a second DUI, and I said, what am I doing? And I just quit. I said, this is not the life I want to live. And second of all, I don't want to die from addiction. because
It's a
I
good
didn't
idea.
know if I was an addict or not. As it turns out, I'm not an addict, but I was really abusing. So when the restaurant idea and stuff, every once in a while, like maybe 3 or 4 times a year, I would have a glass of wine, red wine. What I've come to now is I've kind of experimented through wines and stuff, having them with dinner, and I've realized that certain wines that have a lot of sugar in them give me a little bit of a headache the next day, even on one glass. So I've kind of got to the place where I'm drinking Merlots, and I love those. Going to the different restaurants, particularly if they have a sommelier, I've been able to experiment through some nice wines. And I think that's important. I think that if you're going to be a partner in a restaurant, then you need to at least be aware of what your clients want or need. So the restaurant we're going to have will have moderate wines up to $2,000 a bottle of wine. So we'll have a full range. I'm liking the restaurants that can help us. So I love Tintoque. Tintoque is great because the sommelier is also like a captain or something, and kind of, so I get good service from him, but he's able to talk me through the wine, so I really understand. So Tintoque isn't a hidden gem. It's just a really good restaurant to go to.
Yeah.
And they're very pleasant. I mean, I've never had a problem with them there. They're always very attentive to any needs.
Do you have a favorite dish there?
I have several, but I love their short rib. It's always very delicious. Occasionally they have some huge jumbo shrimp. They're almost like lobster tails, and they do them kind of an adobo type of marinade and sauce. The dessert that I love there, which is just killer, they have a cheesecake mousse with fruits and thin slices of smoked provolone cheese.
Wow.
And it is just incredible. I have found that at restaurants, even some of the nicer restaurants, you'll get a really fabulous appetizers and entrees, but they fall down on the dessert end of it. So I don't want to eat just another cheesecake, flan, or key lime pie.
Right.
So for a restaurant to go above and beyond and do creative desserts is really good. And Tintoque does an excellent job. I love, what other restaurants? Just for a moderate priced meal, I like going over to Bravo's. They're nothing through the roof special, but they're always consistent. They always have very good food. The other thing I like is, while I've tried my best to integrate into the community here in the Mexican community, every once in a while I have those selfish little cravings for things from my past. And one of those things are a shrimp cocktail with a real American cocktail sauce.
It's hard to find that here, isn't it?
It is. So Bravo has a killer cocktail sauce. So it's got plenty of horseradish. It's got a good bite to it. And their shrimp come out. They're nice and crisp. And
all right. So that's a tip for you guys that have been looking for that and just can't find it.
Yeah,
Bravo's has it.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten now where I've been like going on Mercado Libre and ordering horseradish so I can make my own. But I would much rather like go out to a restaurant and be waited on.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, it is. If you were going to leave town for a day and go, first of all, do you ever get a chance to get out of here?
Not really.
No. Have you taken any day trips around here?
No. The only thing I did was go to the beach a couple of days. Honestly, we're open 7 days a week.
Yeah, so you got no time to do anything, do you, Michael?
I have no time. The things I do is when I get out of town, I go back to Merida to the gallery there and kind of check in. And also my husband happens to be running that gallery there. So it is nice occasionally to reconnect.
Probably be a nice thing to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I am lucky because he's autistic as well. So So we're very, we're very kind of matter of fact, and we tend not to let emotion kind of like run crazy. So as long as I talk to him a couple of times a day, we stay connected. And
Yeah, I try to do that with my wife too. By the way, when I'm here, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
it is.
She says, you better call me every day. If you don't call me, something's happening.
Oh my God!
I'm kidding. 34 years of marriage. That's what happens.
And we're at 13 years together.
Are you? Okay,
so,
good for you.
And
that's a
9 years
lucky
of
year.
marriage.
Be careful now.
Yeah, I know. No, it's good. And like I said, he's autistic. I'm autistic. He happens to be an artist, so he's over in Merida, and he's painting, and the gallery has his art as well as mine. Mm-hmm. He'll have some art in this gallery as well once we get the other floors done. But
tell us a little bit about Merida.
About Merida?
Yeah.
It was an interesting experience moving there. We were in San Miguel de Allende, and they started to have a little problem with feuding cartels, and it just got a little dangerous for us. They were extorting businesses, and we had a gallery, and we had burglars in the house 3 times while we were there, and we decided that's not the life we wanted to live. So I researched, and I found out that Merida was billed as one of the safest cities in Mexico. So we went down, we researched it, and it was great. I mean, it had the Paseo de Montejo. It was beautiful, French inspired and houses, big mansions, and just this vibrant life at night with people walking dogs, and it just was so interesting. And I thought, well, let's move there. I mean, it had some art community, not huge, but it did have some galleries.
Expat community as well?
An expat community. So we moved down and we opened the gallery. The following month after we opened the gallery, COVID hit. I mean, the next month, and we went to lockdown. It was like, okay, so, the universe is conspiring to give us patience. And but, luckily for me, I am known, and I have a huge presence on the internet. So, I mean, I was selling art, and I was
things
fine.
were going. People were at home; they had nothing to do. They're just buying art.
No, honestly,
taking their government checks and buying art. It was great.
Yeah, you don't know how many people wrote me and said, we were going to go to Italy, and now I have this money, but we can't go anywhere, so I'm buying a piece of art.
There you go.
Fine with me.
Gee, wow! I'm sorry about that. Right?
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry about your vacation. Which one do you want?
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We got there, and the gallery's been open through this time. I don't know. Something happened to Merida, which is very unfortunate, and it is a very cautious government for COVID. In fact, I mean, just recently they were threatening to lock down again, and the people there are frightened, and justly so. I mean, this was a terrible pandemic. But we've evolved to a place where, with the vaccinations and now even the strains of COVID that are coming out are not as lethal as they were. You can still go there and see people driving down the street in their cars alone with a face mask and a shield.
Come to Los Angeles, my friend. You'll see it there too.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. I don't get it alone in a car.
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't
even get it walking down.
It's because they're frightened.
I know, and I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand there is fear.
Yeah.
But, this is the little autistic logical mind that goes, okay, you're alone in a car, and no one's been in your car except you. You don't have to wear a face mask. And it's just where I go. So, but they are a very, very frightened community. And that vibrant Paseo de Montejo that made me fall in love with Merida, it's dead. It's dead. And they have no business, and the restaurants are empty, and it's just, I don't know, the life is taken out of it. In the same time, all of this was going on. This particular movement that's going through Mexico with the feminists coming through and trying to get attention hit Merida, And so this beautiful boulevard with its monuments in the center of the street, they're all full of graffiti now.
Oh,
And it's a shame. It's a very, very beautiful, road, street, and now there's all this graffiti over these beautiful monuments. So they're having to find their own way right now.
yeah.
The expat community is strong there, but there are 1 million people in that particular city. So I mean, maybe the expat community is 1%.
Right. And it's hot there, isn't it?
It is hot, but I'll tell you what, it's probably 10 degrees hotter there, but it feels cooler than Puerto Vallarta because of the humidity.
Really? So it's a dry heat, huh?
Yeah, it's a dry heat, which is interesting. I mean, they're only like 20 minutes from the beach.
I was going to say, they're just right there.
No, Progreso's like right 20 minutes, 30 minutes away. But it's really interesting. I mean, in the hottest part of the day, you can still walk down the street and not feel terrible. Now, like I said, I grew up in Texas, and I lived in Houston many years, so I understand, stepping outside and sweating. So, I deal with it here, but it's not exactly what I would choose to live in. But we have those 6 months of perfect weather, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, thanks for sharing about Merida, because, every once in a while, I think people should get out, especially if they're here for like 6 months at a time, and just say, let's go visit some other place in Mexico,
Now, what I will tell you about Merida, it has incredible historic sites. I mean, as far as the pyramids, the experience of going in a cenote is incredible. And if you've never done it, if you've never seen a cenote, or you don't even understand a cenote, it's something you need to do. And it's, that is where, the big meteor asteroid, whatever it was that crashed down at Earth, that destroyed and killed all the dinosaurs, that's where it happened. And the offshoot of that event was the fact that there were pockets of little caves, thousands and thousands throughout the Yucatan that are filled with crystal clear water. And it's interesting. I mean, it's what happens with these little pockets under the ground is the roofs cave in, and you see these beautiful, clean, crystal clear pools, and it's worth going to experience. The Mayans were really in tune with them. There's underground rivers connecting all of these caves. There's hidden artifacts and all these little rivers that travel between the cenotes. There are sacrificed skeleton bodies that are left. I mean, they're finding things all the time. I mean, they're just incredible. And then, of course, just the pyramids. And just to acknowledge the ingenuity that went into creating these beautiful, beautiful pyramids, and just the technology that was, and the whole society. I mean, just the fact that these wonderful communities were established with schools and with places to worship and crops and all the rest of the things that happened. I mean, it's worth a visit.
Excellent. All right. Well, just remember that, you guys. Round trip from Puerto Vallarta can cost you more than $100. So think about it. If you had a word of advice for a first-time visitor coming to Puerto Vallarta, what would that be?
Let go of the fear. Let go of the fear. The world is driven by fear, and fear is very controlling. And religions know how to do it, governments know how to do it, communities know how to do it, and they use that fear to get you to adhere to the rules and the dictates that they want you to follow. It has no place in our life. I mean, just kind of going back to the spiritual side, we're better living in light than darkness. And all of us have untapped resources within ourselves we may not even know we have. And you're never going to find it until you cut through the barriers created by fear. Mexico is a fabulous place to visit. And I lived in Seattle before I moved to Mexico 5 years ago. I lived in one of the progressive areas of the country, and we had mass shootings, and we had lots of problems with homeless, and we had lots of things going on. There were many things to be fearful about, but if you listen to anyone, Mexico was the place to fear.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't see a church being, shot up. I don't see a school being shot up. I do understand that drugs and money and the power between those drug and money is very strong, and there are factions that capitalize on that, and they fight each other. I get it. I do know that if you are not putting yourself in a place to be involved in those drugs or the prostitution or some of the other things, that particularly as a tourist, you have nothing to fear. And you need even Merida, which is, right now at a very low place, is still worth the visit because it is interesting and there are things to see. I mean, any city is. There's so many cities in Mexico that each and every one has its own culture, its own people, its own languages, its own food, and they're worth the visit. Don't let fear rule you. As for Puerto Vallarta, it's 100% safe. And, this is a city that it's an anomaly because you can sit at a sidewalk cafe, put your phone on your table next to the railing, and no one's going to snatch it and run. Now, that's not said for any American city at all. Nowhere. If you go any larger city and you're at a sidewalk cafe and put your phone on a table, it's gone. So don't let fear cripple you from enjoying things. The city is full of life. You want to operate in a way that you operate in any large city where you're just you're aware. I mean, that is the one thing. Any city you have to be aware, but you don't have to be fearful of things happening that are involved in the propaganda you've heard, because it doesn't apply here. The other thing that you'll find is the Mexican people are different. I come from a Mexican culture that lived in the United States, and I will tell you that the Mexican culture in Mexico is different than that. They are very hospitable. They are very accommodating. They will always be helpful. They'll always be polite. One of the things about Mexican culture is we don't scream at each other. We have arguments. We may not agree with each other, but you'll never hear us scream and be disrespectful. So it is a place that is wonderful to come to. You also have a responsibility when you come here not to scream at people, because the respect is that this is a culture where it's a very strong respect for each other regardless of disagreements. So on your part, you also have to be respectful of that culture. But the people are wonderful here. And the people that come from other places in the world that come here are also different. The people that live here are certainly different because they've chosen to live a life that's different and to integrate. Some do find pockets because they find it's easier with the language, but others do learn the language and do integrate. So for me, most of the people that I associate with are Mexican. They're not the expat community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting thing. My friends tend to be Mexicans because I put the legwork in. I did speak some Spanish before I got here, but for 5 years I've worked on my Spanish, and now, if someone's bilingual, I speak Spanish before I speak English. But I put that work in. But know that you can come here, and that even with a few little words of Spanish, everyone's going to make a best effort to understand you and to accommodate your needs. And know that the people that move here are definitely different, and they have broadened their world, and they understand that there is something bigger than a one language, one state country where someone never moves and never experiences the world. I mean, these are people that I would be proud to call my friends.
Well said. All right, let's come back to the gallery and the one day the restaurant and in any minute now the postal service. Give us your address here.
Okay, so the gallery is located at 400 Juarez, and we're right across from the old city hall. We're right next to the Parisina, which is a historic building, and we're right on a little callejon alleyway that's a pedestrian walkway that has umbrellas. If you walk one block down to the Malecon, that is where the Puerto Vallarta sign is, and the historic seahorse with the little boy on it. So, we're right in the center. We're one block away from the church. So, 400 Juarez. The mail service will be right behind us. So, the best way if you want directions or to find out about that, there's a website already established, and it's mailexpressvallarta.com, and it would have a map and it would have the address. In addition, the gallery, your best way to find the gallery and information is actually to go on Google and just Google Galeria Robles Vallarta. And Robles is my mother's family, my Mexican family. So I've named the gallery after my grandparents, which I love dearly, and that I have acquired my sense of Mexican culture from, as well as some Spanish. So the gallery carries on the legacy of my grandfather, who had 4 daughters, always wished for a little boy to carry on the family name. And in some way, by moving to Mexico and now being able to be Michael Tolleson Robles, I'm giving him the thing he wanted, even though he's on the other side, appreciating it and understanding that the gallery's named after him and the name, and my own last name is his name.
And in the end, you fulfilled his wishes. So there you go.
I have,
Yes,
and yeah. I truly know that my grandmother and my grandfather are looking on at the gallery, and they know that the legacy of who they were and their virtues and their culture that they had so strong is a part of who I am and what we're doing.
Fantastic. You have a website, you said. You're on Facebook, Instagram, yes?
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
The easiest way on any to get on Facebook, and you can either look up Michael Tolleson Robles, or you can look up the gallery, which is Galeria Robles. And they have links to Instagram. I'm on Twitter as well. It's 2022. Everyone's on everything.
Everyone's on everything.
Yeah, I'm resisting doing TikToks, but we'll see.
Yeah,
you never know.
You never know. That's right. You can get some cute people doing little. Nah, never mind.
I have a YouTube channel, but it's like
all right. We'll talk about that later. You know what I'll do though, just so you all know that I'll have all those links in the show notes. You can find it over at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. in the Galeria Robles episode. And I'll even have a map that'll take you right to the front door of Galeria Robles, so you'll be able to find it there too. And then you, Michael, will keep me informed, let me know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Things open up.
Mail service is maybe 3 weeks from opening, and the restaurant upstairs, 2 months, I would say, from opening. It'll be open for high season. I also, far projecting, we want to also do another restaurant that will be we have a space kind of in mind at the end of the Malecon, and then actually I also am thinking about building some condos, so we'll see what happens.
Dude, you are busy.
I am. It's a different life than the United States, I'll tell you.
Well, Michael, I got to tell you, it's been really a pleasure meeting you. Your gallery is beautiful. By the way, you will find photos of the gallery and some of his work, of course, on the blog post. So make sure you be looking for that. I'll even have Michael's smiling face on the outside of the building and, in person. So, Michael, thank you again for joining me. Thanks for allowing me to introduce you and Galeria Robles to my listeners. I truly appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Michael. What did I tell you? That man has some great ideas, and those ideas actually are coming to fruition. Mail Express Vallarta is opening up as we speak right now. I have all the contact information for them in the show notes. The restaurant is coming along very nicely. It should be ready to open when high season arrives in a couple of months. I have some pictures of both of those places in the show notes, and I've got links to the mail place. I don't have links to that restaurant, but I can't wait to tell you the name of the chef and the restaurant that Michael has coming to the second floor of his beautiful gallery. But you will be thrilled to have dinner there, I'm going to tell you right now. And that announcement is coming soon, and when it does, I will have it for you. And I have links, and I have maps, and I have pictures of Michael's work and of the gallery and all of that good stuff. You're going to find it over at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Make sure you like and follow Galeria Robles on Facebook so that you can get all those announcements, maybe even before I give them to you. Okay, well, that should do it for today. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember that this is a value for value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway, well, you're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off your message. And don't forget his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. I have links to all of those in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and follow and share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta. Or give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to go there and look there. I have the links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more, all right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Well, thank you to my friend, Autistic Savant artist Michael Tolleson Robles from Galeria Robles. Get on over to his gallery. Check out his works of art that he creates in like 3 hours. I mean, it's amazing. And if you have to get better mail service, check out Mail Express Vallarta and stand by for a big announcement about that new restaurant to come. I have maps, I have links, I have everything you're going to need to find all of those places and all that information in the show notes. You can find it, of course, in the blog at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for you all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Oh, oh, oh. calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.